Still people are joining. We have almost waited for the 10 minutes. Okay, let us wait for the more 5 minutes and then we'll start the class. So for the time being, we will revise the things which we have studied previously. So in the last lecture, we have studied about uh, hash indices, and also we have read about many points, that is buckets, etc. So we have started with the hashing concept. Hashing, it means that this is going to use a hash function for allocating the bucket number to the every record. So whenever a records are inserted into a database, so there is a hash function which is for which some attributes. So whatever tuple we are inserting, from that any of the attribute is chosen as a attribute for the calculating the hash function. So hash function should be uniform and it should be random. Uniform, it should able to distribute all the records uniformly within the all buckets, and it should be random. It means that it should not be a sequential and able to assign the bucket numbers randomly, so that there will be equivalent distribution of the records. So here again we have tackled with the problems of bucket overflows. Bucket overflow, whenever there is a bucket overflow, what can be the problem? That we may have overflow in one bucket, underflow in one bucket. So overflow can be because of two reasons: that function is not proper, or we may have insufficient number of the buckets. So in wherever there is a overflow and underflow conditions are there, so that conditions are called as a skew. Skew, it means some buckets are getting assigned with the more records and some are getting not assigned with the many records. So that was the skew concept, and for this purpose we have chosen that it should be a random and uniform function. So these are the points which we studied in the last lecture, and also we studied about static hashing. So static hashing, it means that initially there are fixed number of the buckets are there, and there only we go on adding the buckets. And within the static hashing there are two subtypes: open and closed hashing. Open hashing, it means that here we can go for adding the uh, open hashing. It means that wherever we are getting the bucket overflow, we are going for the chaining, that is linear probing. And closed hashing, it means that whatever the bucket number assigned by the hash function is there, that remains closed only. So even though there are space available in the another buckets, but still we are closing entry into the same bucket. And wherever overflow is there, we are go on adding the extra chains. So this is called as overflow chaining in case of hashing concept. So these are the different approaches through which we can go for the uh, handling the overflows in case of hashing. So hashing is nothing but a data structure which is used to fast access of a data. Okay, so this is referring to a hash indices. So again, a table is given which is holding a record, that is a value for the record, and how these are related with the uh, actual database entries. So this was the regarding the previous lectures. So now we will move towards the next concept in the study, that is a dynamic hashing. So dynamic hashing, the name itself suggests that it is a dynamic in nature. So here, problem with the static hashing is that initially, if consider today, right now, I'm having the capacity of the students in my institute as 50. Consider per branch allowed students are consider 30. 30 is the each branch size, and therefore 4 branches are there, and at most 120 students can be there. After 5 years, I may willing to increase the capacity, and hence from 30 I may grow size up to 50 each branch, and then I decided that the capacity should be 200. So here, whenever we are storing records for the first stage, wherever there are 30 students were there each branch, we may define some hash function. And after 5 years, if we decided that it should grow, and the hash function, whatever previously we are using, that was designed for the 30 students and now we wanted to use for the 50 students. So here the problem is that here we cannot go for, it means whatever the previous hash function is there, that may not work for the 50 students wherever scaling is there. And another, if consider that today, I know that today I'm starting the institute and after 5 years size may grow up to 50 students, etc. Then initially having that much investment, that is not possible because in advance only I cannot start defining the hash function for the 50. After 5 years it has reached to 50. After again 5 years it may reach up to 80. So initially only I cannot predict the complete size and apply the hash function as it is. So here these are the drawbacks of the static hashing are there. And even if today I define the hash function, after 5 years I redefine the hash function, the relocation of the records may be required. Okay, so it means that again it is a time consuming and costly procedure. And there is periodic maintenance is also required. So for this purpose, static hashing performance get degrades. And for this purpose, we are moving towards the concept of dynamic hashing. Dynamic hashing initially gives a minimum record size, and as the file size grows, the hash function also gives that many number of the buckets. Okay, so this seems initially too much difficult. So let us see what is the concept for the dynamic hashing is there. So there are many techniques are there. Out of that, we are using extendable hashing. So whatever the hash function is there, it is going to modify dynamically without relocating the records. And also, whenever there is a deletion or space is available, growth and shrinkage both are possible by using this dynamic hashing. So first is a data structure. So okay, which data structure we are going to use? So here, in order to use a dynamic hashing, we are using a bit sequence in order to point to a buckets number. Okay, bucket numbers are always equivalent to the 2's power of the bits. Okay, so always whenever we are using a hash function returns a bit sequence, and that bit sequence will give us a bucket number. But how many bits are there? On that basis, buckets are allocated. So let us see first the theory we will read and then line by line explanation we will start. So extendable hashing copes with the changes in a database size by splitting and coalescing buckets as database grows and shrinks. So here splitting it means that just like in the tree we know wherever there is a overflow is there, you go for the split. That extra one more bucket is added and whatever the current records are there, that will be split into two nodes. Similarly here split up it means that whenever a bucket get overflow, there will be a split up of bucket. Then and coalescing it means whenever there is a underflow is there, that buckets are empty or very less number of the records are there, then we go for the combining the two buckets into one bucket. So okay, as a result, space efficiently is written. Yes, that is a main advantage. Or for that purpose only, we are moving towards the dynamic hashing. Moreover, since a reorganization is performed on only one bucket at a time, resulting performance overhead is acceptably low. So here, always whenever there is a overflow, that will be result into only one bucket, and only there only simultaneously inserting multiple records. That action will be, that is inserting one by one record, because multiple records will not result into a single hash function. So here main thing is that here at a time split up of bucket is only for a single bucket only. With extendable hashing, we choose a hash function EH with desirable properties of uniformity and randomness. However, this hash function generates value over relatively large range. It means here initially 2 bits are there, later on 4 bits, later on up to 32-bit long bit sequence it can generate. Okay, that was the current point. So this one is the figure which gives how the size grows. Okay, so here main thing is that here along with the hash value, we are having here a hash prefix. Okay, hash prefix, it means that how many bits are getting used. Okay, so always whenever I'm deciding the final size, it always shows how many bits I should go for. Okay, initially if I choose up to 32 bits, so here hash prefix, it means that out of 32 bit values, how many bits we are using. So there may be, it means initially there are only 4 records, each bucket can hold only 2 records. In that way, this hash prefix gives me the actual number of the bits. Right now, out of 32 bits, how many bits are used? Okay, so this is holded by a bucket address table. Again, this is a data structure which is holding a starting locations of every bucket. So here, the number of bucket address table entries that point to the bucket J is. Okay, here this formula is given. So it means if this is pointing to this, right now, if there is only one record in these two buckets, it means these both will point to a single bucket only. So this figure doesn't give the completely idea. Let us go for the example. Uh, First, searching the record. So in order to search a particular record into this dynamic hashing or extendable hashing, bucket containing search key value KL, the system takes the first I order bits of each, that is for the given attribute, how many bits are there, looks at the corresponding table entry for this bit string and follows the bucket pointer to the table entry. Okay, so here in the previous slide, so right now, consider that I wanted to find out a particular record. So within that particular record, whatever attribute is there, on that attribute, it will apply the hash function, whatever hash function is there. And after applying the hash function, this will calculate a bit sequence. So from that bit sequence, it will look up, that is that is hash prefix stands for the how many bits we are looking for. So within that, whatever the bucket number it is matching, consider that it is matching with the 00. Then it will look up into this bucket with the 00, whatever the value we have got from the previous calculation for the search key. It will look up into bucket. If it is available, then search is successful. Else, the search will not be successful. So next, insertion. So in order to insert a particular record, again, whatever the complete tuple is there, from that tuple, get the attribute on which the hash function is applied. After applying the hash function, this will get some hash value. So it will look up into the current index, that is bucket address table, whether any bucket is allocated for that value. If so, this will look up into the hash prefixes. If it is available, it will search into that bucket. If the bucket contains enough space for holding that record, it will add the record to the bucket. If the bucket is getting overflow, then the next bit is checked. If previously there are only 2 bits which are matching, and in that case, if the bucket is getting overflow, this bucket need to be split up into 2 buckets, and then in order to split up, it will use the next third bit for the sequence. Okay, then the split up will be done, and then the pointers will be separated and record will be added to the bucket. So let us read this procedure once. To insert a record with search key value KL, the system follows the same procedure for the lookup as before, that is calculating the hash value, lookup into the hash prefix, going to that bucket and searching whether record is available. Ending up in some bucket, consider that we have got bucket J for insertion. If there is a room in the bucket, that space is available, the system insert the record in the bucket. Yes, we have inserted record. If not, that is if on the other hand the bucket is full. If the bucket is full, then we should split the bucket and redistribute the current records plus the new one. Okay. To split the bucket, the system first determines from hash value whether it needs to increase the number of bits that it used. So okay, here the main thing is that whatever the pointer we are learning, uh, so let us see this figure. This figure explains the current concept. So right now, initially there will be only a single bit which will be used. Hash prefix is right now 0. So there is only one bucket. Whenever insertion is done, it will point to the same bucket as room is there. So this will insert the first record. This will insert the second record. So two records may be having the different hash values. Yes, wherever we are inserting the tuples, these will give us a different hash value. So wherever if bucket is not full, this both will come into a single bucket only. Now, if whenever we are trying to insert a third value, okay, third value cannot be inserted here as there is only single bit is there. Uh, so here this will use, that is right now only one, that is no bits are checked. So initially this will be the empty bucket. So whenever there is a three records are there, so this is going to check a first hash prefix. So right now initially 0 bits are checked. Now we will check for the 2 bits or 1 bit. So in this case, wherever after inserting a third record, this will split up into two buckets. One with the only single prefix and one with the another prefix. So this is the again another bucket, another solution. So here 2 bits are checked. So 2 bits, initially 1 bit, 0 or 1. Right now we are having multiple combinations. So it means that as we go on inserting the tuples, so this will go on splitting the bucket. If consider here uh, this bucket is getting overflow in the previous case. In the previous case, whatever the Srinivasan and Wu, if this bucket is getting overflow, only the split up will be available only for this bucket only. And right now there is only 1 bit. Again, there are for the 1 bit we are having two entries. So it means that we cannot go for adding 2 pointers to the same bucket. So bucket splitter will check for the 2 bits right now. And hence there will be 2 bits of the hash prefix will be checked. Out of that, whatever the previous bucket was there, the first bucket, Mozart music, it do not need any split up because right now there is only single record available. And hence the, this bucket will remain same only, and hence the 2 pointers will point to the single record. And as there is a distribution of the second bucket, so second bucket will only go on adding. So the work is done only on the second bucket only. That split up is done. The initial bucket will remain as it is. I hope this is clear to you. So let me have the queries. If you are having any queries, I'm open for the queries. You can ask the question in the chat window also, no problem. Okay, let us go for the next scene extension. So this is another scenario. Wherever split up is required, this will go for the split up, and wherever there is a no split up is required, more than 3 to 4 pointers will also point to the same record. So okay, here the main strategy is that we are performing the split up wherever there is a required. Split up, it means that it doesn't make that right now I'm facing the overflow. Let us make 2 buckets to 4 buckets. No, only 2 to 3 conversion is required. That is sufficient. Wherever split up is required, only one extra bucket is added, and that's why here the much more space simultaneously is not required, and the capacity increase of this dynamic hashing is much more, as there are 32 bits extension is there. It means that 2 raised to 32 these many buckets can be made available, and hence this is quite larger size which is it pointing to, and database up to 2 raised to 32 bits of the it means 2 raised to 32 records. That is quite a large size, and hence a bucket size also grows wherever there is a same bit sequences are pointing to the same record. Just like if I'm having index on the computer science, if the bucket is getting overflow, we can add the extra bucket to the same pointing to the same bucket. Okay, so here the space doesn't, that is a space overhead that initially consuming that much space or having underflow etc. Those conditions doesn't arise in case of this uh, extensible hashing, uh, and hence it is much more dynamic in nature because it grows wherever it is required and shrinks whenever there is a not required. So let us see the deletion operation. So deletion, to delete a record with search key value KL, the system follows the same procedure for the lookup, whatever we have studied as before, ending up in some bucket say J. It removes both search keys from the bucket and record from the file. The bucket 2 is removed if it becomes empty. If there are multiple records are there, the bucket will remain as it is. If that was the only last record, then the bucket will be empty. At this point, there can be several buckets wherever only single records are available. There we can go for the coil scaling, that is reducing the number of bucket address table to be have. And here, unlike coil scheme buckets, changing the size of the bucket address table is rather expensive operation if the table is large, and is therefore to reduce the bucket address table size on uh, number of bucket reduces greatly. Static versus dynamic hashing. So space overhead, that is the main problem with the static hashing, and cost also increases. Whereas dynamic hashing, the hash function is costlier or may be complex because simultaneously we may not be working on that many bits, and still we if we are calculating the hash function for the 32 bits, that may be a costlier function. So here lookup may be required, which may lead to indirection, and hence extra reference may be required in case of dynamic hashing. There are again number of versions are available for the hashing, dynamic hashing. So now let us come to the last point of the syllabus: comparison of ordered indexing and hashing. So here, ordered indexing, just like we are having the sequential indexing, and uh, hashing, that is using the hash functions. So here, difference between indexing and hashing is that index always required elements to be in sorted order wherever we are storing. Again, there are subtypes primary, secondary, etc. But in case of hashing, we need not to perform sorting of the elements, or in case of ordered indices, lookup, searching, retrieval, insertion always takes with the sequential. Whereas in case of hashing, randomly we can go for the applying the hash function and calculating the bucket number. And hence, wherever there are only single point or single record queries are there, or only point queries are there, order hashing indices are much more useful as compared to the ordered indices. Wherever there is a range queries are there where I need to go from A to Z or A to B or A to C, etc. In that case, ordered indices are much more useful. So to decide, it means to decide whether we should have ordered index or whether to have a hashing index. That can be made by using a, it means looking for the following issues. So first one is cost of periodic reorganization of the index or hash organization acceptable. If consider rewriting the hash function that is useful than having the periodic reorganization of the index, then we can choose the hashing. So what is the relative frequency of the insertion and deletion? That we rarely insert the data, we rarely perform the deletion, we only search for the data. Then it is optimized to use for the hashing. But in case of insertion and deletion, which takes on frequently, then we may choose for the ordered indexing wherever there is a easy insertion and deletion can take place. And it is desirable to optimize the average access time at the expense of increasing the worst case access time. So in case of hashing, it is much more useful to go for the accessing. And if we are using the tree indices or B plus tree indices, then uh, access time as well as insertion and deletion time is also less as compared to the sequential indices. Sorry, this bitmap I think is not full syllabus. Let me check for a moment. Yeah, it is there for the syllabus. So let us study this. So bitmap indexes are a specialized type of the index design for the easy querying on multiple keys, although each bitmap index is built on a single key. So here we know that there is a multiple key point which we have studied. Multiple key point, it means that on each table I can have index on the multiple attributes. Just like for the instructor, I can have index on the ID, I can have index on the name, or we can have index on the department name also. So here bitmap indexes are, it means we are having index designed for the each query, easy querying on multiple keys. Multiple keys stands for the multiple attributes. For example, if I'm trying to search, I need to find out all the faculties who are from the computer science department and with salary greater than 70,000. It means that there are two attributes are there on which conditions are based, that is department name and then salary. Then we can select multiple keys are there. So for bitmap indices to be used, records in a relation must be numbered sequentially starting from say 0. So wherever given a number n, it must be easy to retrieve the record number n. This is particularly easy to achieve if records are in fixed size and are located on a consecutive block of memory. The record number can then be translated easily into a block number and number that identifies a record within a block. So wherever here bitmap indices are means that if consider I'm having index on name and department name, then here along with the alphabetical order of the name I will arrange the records, and wherever there is a matching sequence is there we will go for the second attribute, that is a department name. And hence for each of these record we will define a another bit sequence. Okay, so here bit sequence it means that here records may be stored in any order, but as per the uh, as per the sorting order of these two combinedly attributes, we store a bit sequence in increasing order. And whenever there is a calculation for the query is there or access of a query is there, then we calculate a bit sequence for that record and directly access that record. So here, for this, it is mandatory that we should have a record stored in a fixed size. That is, each record should be of same size, and these are stored sequentially. Okay, that is a mandatory condition for this bitmap indices. So index structure. So let us see the index structure. Uh, Wait. So here, index bitmap is simply an array of bits in its simplest form. That is a bit sequence, as I said. A bitmap index on the attribute A of relation R consists of one bitmap for each value that A can take. Okay, so A may take, just like for the name, we can take any random value. For the B, if I'm having any attribute like a department name, etc., B can take possible values like whatever four departments are there. So each bitmap has a as many bits as the number of records in the relation. Okay, if there are five records are there will be 5 bits in the bitmap index will be there. And whenever the ith bit of the bitmap for the value vj is set to 1, if the record number I has the value vj for the attribute A. Okay, here consider that I'm having the second record, then out of 5, second bit will be set to 1. Okay, that is the meaning of the last statement. If there is a third record is there, then for the third record it may be having attribute any value, but for that value it will have a third bit set to 1. Just like for the first record I'm having the name starting with the A, then I will assign the first that is leftmost bit to be 1 and rightmost all bits will be 0. That is, this is pointing that value A attribute ABC is pointing to the 1. Next, if I am having any name starting with the B, then for that I will set my second bit. So it means that here the mapping will be done for ABC 1, for B any starting with the name 2, and in that way. And whenever we are searching for a record, this will search into the mapping and then get that record access. So let us now jump to the last point of the syllabus for this chapter, index definition in SQL. So how we can define our index on a particular table. So always indices are based on a table, that on each table we can define a index. So for defining the index, we are having a DDL statement, that is create index name, that any name we can assign to the index on relation name and attribute list. So okay, consider that for the instructor, I wanted to define the index on a department name, and that's why I will assign the name as department index. Okay, then here we can say that for defining the index, create index, department index on instructor, and in bracket we will pass the attribute list. So here we can assign more than one attributes also, but or only one attribute also, or multiple attributes also. Okay, then here this will be in sorted order, the index will be maintained, and it is mandatory to give some name to the index. And hence In such way, we can go for defining multiple indices on a single table also. Okay, on a single table, we can have multiple indices, and wherever there is a query, so this will look which query will can or which index can give us the correct very fast access result. That is also complete. And there also we can go for unique index also. Unique index, it means that there will be only a single entry for that attribute. Then we can go for a uh, unique index, just like for the id attribute, etc. But here we have used department name. From the department name, there are multiple attributes with the same department name. So that's why this will store only a single value and it will create a bucket. And whenever we wanted to drop a index, we can use the drop index and index name we can drop. So here it is mandatory that for within a database, each index name should be unique. Even though if I'm using department index on the instructor as well as on the student, that is not allowed. Department index should be one in that database. Okay, let it be on the student, let it be on the uh, instructor, anywhere, but this name should be unique. So here we complete the fifth chapter. So let me have the queries. If you are having any queries,